Breaking news, the dean of USC's Keck Medical School is reportedly out.
This comes just months after his predecessor resigned amid a scandal. See It Live starts right now.
The Los Angeles Times is reporting a new dean of the Keck Medical School, and he is out after a sexual harassment lawsuit settlement from 2003. Good evening, I'm Hannah Wing.
And I'm Brian Redhead. Dean Rohit Varma replaced Carmen Puliafito, who resigned in March after a drug overdose at a Pasadena hotel.
The Times says Varma is no longer dean of the medical school following new information from a sexual harassment lawsuit from 2003, where USC reportedly paid more than $100,000 to the victim. While Varma took a $30,000 salary reduction for 1 year, the school continued to promote him. In 2014, he was named the director of the USC Eye Institute. In a statement reported by the LA Times, USC Provost Michael Quick said that, quote, based on previously undisclosed information brought to the university in recent days, USC leadership has lost confidence in Dr. Rohit Varma's ability to lead our medical school. As of today, he is no longer dean of the Keck School of Medicine. Annenberg Media will continue to follow the story and bring you new information as soon as we get it. In other news, California Governor Jerry Brown signed the Senate Bill 54, making California a sanctuary state.
We will resist and we will overcome, and we will prove to this nation there is a hopeful future for our country where we cherish diversity and respect our immigrant heritage. We have witnessed a growing racial divide that we have not seen in decades. Over and over again, the president has deployed fear and division to advance his political ambitions. The result of this constant barrage of dog whistles, or some would say foghorns or bullhorns, is a sickening rise in racism, turning American against American.
This bill will make California a sanctuary state starting in January 2018. California is going against federal policy by shielding over 2 million illegal immigrants. The bill will limit who state and local law enforcement can hold, question, and transfer at the request of federal immigration authorities.
I also want to thank Governor Jerry Brown for signing this bill, so thank you very much. I think with this we will have more tranquility in our community and we can take our kids to school, to the doctor, go to court, all with confidence that we haven't had, because in this country we are all immigrants.
California joins 5 other states in sanctuary status with the signing of the bill.
A town hall led by the American Civil Liberties Union is taking place tonight in the Westlake District. Annenberg Media's Aton Wallace is there talking with community activists about what it means for California to be a sanctuary state.
And Brian and Hannah, good evening to you. We're live here at the Employee Services International Union in the Westlake District, where LA City Councilman Gil Cedillo is expected to address this crowd, many of whom are immigrants and immigrant rights activists. He's expected to talk in this town hall style event tonight about an ordinance he hopes to bring forth in front of the Los Angeles City Council, a pro-immigrant ordinance. I'm going to get to that ordinance in just a moment, but first a little background of why we're here tonight. Just over about a month ago, on September 9th, the Los Angeles City Council symbolically declared the city a sanctuary city. So you might be wondering, what does that mean exactly? Well, it's kind of as I said, it's just symbolism, it's just symbolic. It was just a message to the undocumented immigrants in the city, saying the leaders of the city care about you, we're here for you. But tonight, the city councilman Cedillo says, we want to do more than that. We want to actually make this law. We want to put something forward to make it concrete, not just symbolism. So what exactly is in that ordinance? Well, first of all, I should tell you that it would stop police from sharing databases of the information and contact information and other names and whatnot with the feds, with ICE. It would stop that. The councilman saying that because LAPD is able to share that information, often it leads to many deportations of just hardworking people who did not do anything wrong, but just as a result of that database. That's the first thing it would do. It would stop that database. The second thing it would do is it would turn misdemeanors or offenses that often are charged as misdemeanors it would turn those into fines. So offenses such as loitering or street vending, it's no secret that many immigrants, and especially undocumented immigrants, are street vendors in the city. So the ordinance would actually say if someone were to be cited or charged with street vending per se, then they would just be fined. They would not be charged with an actual misdemeanor, and that's because, according to the city councilman, well, 60 to 70% of people, undocumented immigrants who are charged with misdemeanors, even if those charges are dropped, they still end up deported because they give their information, their fingerprints, their names to the system, and then the feds find out about it. So that's in essence what this ordinance would do. Now, we spoke with an activist from the Indivisible Highland Park immigrant rights group just a few moments ago, and here's why she said she supports the measure.
What we want is something that's enshrined in law that will protect everyone in the city, all residents, in the same way. And I think that there's a fear of losing certain kind of funding that we get through the federal government. So we need to show as residents, as people who are community members in this city, that we're willing to take that chance in order for everyone to receive the same kinds of protections.
And you forgive me as they're starting with the event back here, I'll continue speaking. I just want to let you know that opponents argue that, well, this ordinance will actually do more harm than good for the city. Opponents say it will allow criminals to simply continue going on with their criminal activity, and it will give them no basically incentive to stop their bad actions throughout the city. As for the actual process of this ordinance, there actually is a long process that goes here. If the city councilman actually decides to introduce it in front of the council, well, first he'll need to introduce a motion that asks the LA City Attorney to draft the ordinance. The LA City Attorney will then have 45 days to draft the ordinance, and from that point forward, the ordinance then goes back to the LA City Council, at which point city council members will vote on it. We're live here in the Westlake District. I'm Eitan Wallace, Annabelle Media. Back to you, Hannah and Brian.
Thank you for that, Eitan. Not everyone is in favor of SB 54. Los Angeles County Sheriff Jim McDonnell originally opposed the bill, but has now changed his mind after SB 54 was amended and passed by state lawmakers. McDonnell released a statement on social media explaining his change of heart, saying, "The dialogue around SB 54 afforded me the opportunity to have a series of meaningful conversations with several immigrant advocacy groups. Public safety is our mission. This requires that people come forward if they are a crime victim or be willing to come forth as a witness to a crime without being deported." On the other hand, Orange County Sheriff Sandra Hutchins has spoken out in opposition of SB 54, stating that the law is inconsistent with widely accepted best practices of open communication amongst all levels of law enforcement. The Orange County Sheriff's Department remains committed to cooperating fully with federal authorities in all areas where the sheriff has discretion. Annenberg Media has also reached out to the LAPD on multiple occasions for comment and did not receive a response.
Police arrested 9 DACA protesters in Westwood this morning after they blocked off one of the busiest intersections in LA with jail beds. The protest comes at the end of a renewal period for DACA residents who want to stay in the country. The protesters are also angry that LA County is planning a $2 billion jail expansion.
We then proceeded to take over the intersection and block traffic to bring attention to the unjust incarceration system, deportation system that's been criminalizing our people. The federal government is trying to say that they're criminals, that they deserve to be incarcerated and deported, and we're saying that's not true because we know these people are our parents, these people are our community members, these people are deserving and they contribute to this country, and they deserve to exist with dignity.
The folks that are most vulnerable for deportation right now are folks who have been criminalized by the system, folks who don't have protection, Central American folks who are fleeing here to save their lives.
9 protesters were arrested and stopped traffic for about 20 minutes.
They didn't have a permit to shut this intersection down, so if they don't have a permit, then when they do that, they're in violation of law, so that's why we give the dispersal order.
LAPD is working with the city attorney to determine what the final booking charge will be for the 9 protesters arrested. As we mentioned, the deadline to apply for short-term renewal of DACA was today. The Department of Homeland Security took at least 36.
As we mentioned, the deadline to apply for short-term renewal of DACA was today. The Department of Homeland Security estimates at least 36,000 undocumented immigrants have not applied. Approximately 150,000 individuals currently have DACA set to expire in the next 6 months. If no legislation action is taken, DACA recipients risk losing benefits beginning in March 2018.
Thanks, Brian. Tonight in our studio, we have Niels Franzen, the director of USC Gold Immigration Clinic, to discuss the DACA deadline and California's station as a sanctuary state. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So first things first, what role does the clinic play in the immigration process for students?
We're here as a resource to students as well as to faculty and staff who have questions about immigration laws and about what they might be eligible for under the immigration laws.
And how exactly do they help students at USC?
In regard to DACA, for example, prior to its termination this week, we've been helping people renew their DACA applications. We're helping people who are eligible to immigrate and acquire green cards, or people who are eligible to become U.S. citizens. We're helping them do their paperwork.
And what have their reactions been to DACA thus far?
Well, I mean, DACA has been a tremendously important benefit, and so the reaction now in recent days obviously has been a tremendous concern in light of the termination of the program.
Before all this was taking place, how exactly did law enforcement react when they would come into contact with an undocumented immigrant?
Well, that depends very much on whether or not we're in the city of Los Angeles or in Orange County or in Sacramento. There have been different local policies, but the risk has always been that after the local law enforcement agency was done with that person, even if there were no formal charges brought, that person, if they were an immigrant, would be turned over to ICE for possible deportation.
I know that now the bill takes place and really affects people in places like hospitals, schools. How will that affect students here at USC?
Well, I mean, hopefully what it means is that if there is an undocumented student or member of the community who is in a welfare office or a library or a hospital, for example, that when those portions of the state law take effect a year or so from now, that they will be generally secure and protected from being turned over to immigration authorities.
I know that Attorney General Jeff Sessions said that he does not agree with this new bill. Do you see it being turned over in court anytime soon?
Nothing is going to happen quickly, but it certainly is possible that the federal government could bring a lawsuit against the state of California, challenging whether or not California has the authority under the federal Constitution, under the U.S. Constitution, to do this. I think that would be unsuccessful in the end, frankly.
And how do you think that this will affect students at USC in 5 years from now, let's say?
Well, I mean, we have undocumented students, who are enrolled both in the college as well as in the graduate school. And so what the state law is going to do, what the sanctuary bill will do, will give them some limited security as they try to go about their lives, finishing their education, and they won't be able to work legally, but it will give them some measure of protection from being deported from the United States.
Are they scared?
Absolutely. People who are undocumented, people who are in DACA status, who are about to lose that status in the coming months or year, they're very scared. And the other thing that people forget sometimes is a lot of our community come from mixed status families. So even if I'm a U.S. citizen, I might have a documented or an undocumented child or spouse at home.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know it's a very important issue, and I'm so glad you could join us today.
Thank you.
Brian, over to you.
Thank you for that, Hannah. People have taken to Twitter to express their feelings about DACA. #DACA, #DefendDreamers, and #HereToStay are all trending. This afternoon, Kamala Harris tweeted that the Trump administration has yet to notify DACA recipients directly of today's renewal deadline. Shame on them. The Hispanic Caucus tweeted that we're alarmed that lagging #DACA renewals ahead of deadline, which is why we called for again and again for an extension. Julius Ark also sent out a reminder to Dreamers that DACA renewals must be received by today. No official notices went out to recipients. We are the only one with a microphone. Thanks for watching See It Live from everyone at Annenberg Media. I'm Brian Redhead.
And I'm Hannah Wing. You can catch us online at uscannenbergmedia.com.
Good night.